What's up everyone, welcome back to another What If video. So this What If mini is going to be a pretty realistic scenario, and it's something that could have actually happened in the story, and frankly I kinda wish it did happen. Instead of going to some other random timeline, Trunks could have stayed in the main timeline and stuck around here. I really don't get why he left, but whatever, that's why we're here today. So instead of being taken to some alternate timeline, what if Trunks ended up staying in the main timeline? Picking up from the very end of the Goku Black arc, let's discuss what might have happened. So obviously, the big change here is that Trunks decides to actually stay in this timeline instead of going to some other timeline. WhIMs offers this, but Trunks says that they could just warn that other timeline of what's about to happen, so that version of Trunks can prepare. Plus it would be really weird to go in a timeline with another Trunks and Mai there. Well, to be fair, there's also Trunks and Mai here, but they're technically different ones, kinda? You get what I mean. So Trunks and Mai stick around here. And what's Trunks gonna be up to? Well first, I think he'd be training with his past self and probably Gohan as well. We could see that ever since Resurrection F, Gohan was trying to train himself up, and Trunks being here could really help him. Plus, this would help young Trunks as well. After seeing the interactions between those two in the main story, it definitely seems like something that would happen. I feel like they'd stick around each other a lot. I mean, they do live together and are the same person. They'd get along pretty well. So, those two would be training with future Trunks. Maybe Piccolo and Goten would join as well, because Piccolo was really training with Gohan before, and Goten was with Trunks, so it only fits. I don't think Trunks would go to see Beerus right away, but maybe later on he will end up going to see him. He'd really just want some peace right now. No crazy intense training, so for at least a few weeks or months, he's gonna stick on Earth enjoying his time there and training with the people around him. To be honest, I think the Trunks and Mai couple thing is a really weird concept. So do you think they would be together? Let me know below. I'm personally not a fan of that couple, but it's what the series built up, so I can't really argue against it. But anywho, later on, Trunks could eventually move on to training with Beerus and Whis. Vegeta would definitely be encouraging him, and it's the natural next step for him. He's had some fun here training, and he's had enough time to rest. He really did enjoy training with Gohan, Trunks, Piccolo, and Goten though, but it seems like they'll be fine themselves. Gohan's already starting to unlock his power that he had before when he first got Ultimate, and he's a lot more motivated and he's making some great progress. They'll be fine without Trunks here. He helped jumpstart their training once again, and now he heads off to Beerus' planet to train alongside Goku and Vegeta. Alongside honing his skills, I'm sure Trunks would try and learn God forms, although it would be a little bit hard for him. He knows essentially nothing about God Ki or the godly Super Saiyan forms right now, so he's essentially going to be learning from scratch. It's going to take a bit of time, but he would eventually get used to it. And it's not like it's constant training either. Vegeta eventually would leave for Earth once he finds out that Bulma is pregnant and about to give birth. And that would really amaze Trunks to find out that he has a sister in this timeline. It gets him a little sad thinking about it. Sure, it's nice that he gets to experience it here, but it's never something he got to go through in his timeline. And whenever Vegeta leaves for Earth, Trunks will leave as well, because this is something he's definitely going to want to stick around for. So after all this training, what does he manage to do? Well, he's actually developed quite a lot and gotten stronger, and we'll get to see that later on in the Tournament of Power, because that's about to happen. Goku comes to Earth like normal, ready to recruit people, with Whis assisting in Bulla's birth. The Zen exhibition match will be the first test of everyone's strength, with Universe 7 facing Universe 9, 3 fighters apiece. Instead of Boo, Trunks is actually recruited here, and the short tournament shows off how much Gohan and Trunks have progressed. First, Trunks fights against Basil, and Trunks is able to show off how strong he is now. In Super Saiyan 2 alone, he's greatly outpacing Basil. But this isn't his full power. To finish the match off, he decides to test something out that he learned with Beerus and Whis, since this is the first time he's actually using it in a real fight. Trunks calms himself as well as his aura, as it's drawn into him and suddenly turns red. Almost peacefully, he transforms into a Super Saiyan God, stunning everyone besides Goku, Beerus, and Whis. And this is probably a little bit overkill for Basil. It just acted as a good opportunity for him to show it off for the first time. Trunks wins this match. And next up is Gohan versus Lavender. Instead of fighting in Super Saiyan 2 here, Gohan already has Ultimate back, and he's noticeably stronger. Lavender's poison is a bit of trouble, but Gohan doesn't have to really stress himself so the poison doesn't spread as quickly. Plus, he's more than strong enough to defeat him, so once again, the match ends with Universe 7 winning. The following two matches go like normal, Goku versus Bergamo and then Toppo. So what's the team looking like here? It essentially ends up being the same, except instead of Frieza, they end up recruiting Trunks. They will probably try to recruit Boo at some point, but then he'll fall asleep like normal, and then they'll have pretty much no choice but to replace him with one of the humans. So, the end result is very similar. It's also worth mentioning he'd probably have a pretty awkward reunion with Android 17. He's already met this timeline's reformed Android 18, and seeing 17 here still is weird to him. It's not something that's too easy to get used to, and the two mutually acknowledge the weirdness. But they just say screw it and shake hands. In the meantime, everyone does a little bit more training, and then eventually, the tournament arrives. So what are the big changes here? As the tournament starts, not too much changes. We end up getting a lot of similar fights, and overall Universe 7 does relatively well. Goku unlocks Ultra Instinct against Jiren, and even with Trunks there, some of the fights before this moment are a little bit unimportant, so I'm going to skim over them. But we start to see some changes after Goku gets Ultra Instinct, and here we'll get to see a bit of Trunks' new techniques. Since he's going to have to put a little bit more effort in, he decides he's going to remain in Super Saiyan God for the rest of the fights. Without Frieza, Kaba doesn't get eliminated, and after Kefla faces Goku, Kaba is one of the last remaining members on his team. He and the two Namekians are up against Gohan, Piccolo, and Trunks, trying to help his two teammates. The Universe 7 fighters overpower those from Universe 6, but the Namekians are relentless, and they need to find some way to stop them from attacking. This gives Trunks an idea. He remembers that Namekians can regenerate, so what he's planning to do won't be too bad. Gohan and Piccolo launch an attack that's supposed to knock the two Namekians out, and they respond with an equally powerful attack. But then suddenly, their attack stops, as their arms fall to the ground. Trunks sliced their arms off. But how did he do that? He didn't have a sword. Actually, Trunks doesn't really need a sword too much anymore. After learning Super Saiyan God, he's gotten a better control over his ki. And after what he saw from Goku Black, Zamasu, and even Vegeta, he decided to try and learn how to create ki blades. Now with his expert control over ki, Trunks can actually manifest different weapons from ki, which is a very useful technique, especially for someone like him who's a skilled swordsman. And this isn't limited to swords either. He could pretty much manifest any sort of weapon he wants. And he's going to start using them here. This allows him to knock out Saunel and Pirina, and although they're a little saddened by it, they have to knock out Kaba as well, eliminating Universe 6. For the time being, Trunks ends up sticking with Piccolo and Gohan. Trunks realizes that he can't use swords this whole time because it's kind of dangerous, but he's starting to get other ideas of what he could do with his ki weapons. As he uses these weapons more and more, he gets better control and he could possibly create something besides weapons. And one really useful thing that he ends up creating is a rope. We saw one of the fighters in the Tournament of Power use this before, and now Trunks is using it for himself. He didn't even think of that before, and it's good because this way, he's able to save Piccolo from falling off. But more importantly, this helps him later on, once he's pitted against Dispo alongside Gohan. Sure, at this point, Gohan overpowers Dispo greatly, but Dispo is just too fast to hit, and this is where Trunks comes in. Instead of making a cage like Frieza did, Trunks may be able to manifest some sort of net or even a rope that wraps him up. The thing is, it won't be strong enough to hold Dispo for too long, but once he does it, it catches Dispo off guard, and it holds onto Dispo long enough for Gohan to actually knock him out. Any longer and he would have been able to break free. And this is some really smart thinking on Trunks' part. Not only is Trunks stronger, but he has a lot more techniques too. But it is worth noting the strength of the two hybrid Saiyans. Knowing the natural potential of hybrids, Gohan and Trunks are probably some of the strongest members on their team. Gohan in Ultimate and Trunks in Super Saiyan God probably would be on par with Blue Goku or Vegeta, which is crazy to think about, because even in a lesser form, Trunks is still insanely powerful, and I feel like this is a reasonable spot to put them at considering what hybrid Saiyans can do. But as I mentioned, it's not just that. Trunks has a lot more techniques now that can actually help him. But at this point, we're getting a little too far into the tournament. Will they really be able to last any longer? Aniraza is eventually defeated, and the rest of the universes are erased besides Universe 11. They want to help Vegeta out against Toppo, but he wants to fight alone. And of course he defeats Toppo. I feel Android 18 and possibly Piccolo would end up getting eliminated by this point. And now, Universe 7 has Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, Trunks, and Android 17 against Jiren. Can Goku pull off that Ultra Instinct thing again? They can't see any other way to take Jiren down, but there is one less risky approach. Kinda like they did at the end of the tournament, they feel like maybe enough of them can tackle Jiren out, but it'll be hard for them to get him to stand still. He's obviously not full power yet, and although Goku would love to see him at his full power, they don't want to risk that. The universe is at stake. But Goku actually has an idea. We know how good Goku is at imitating techniques, and we even saw him use the same technique later on in the Broly movie. Although it may be a bit hard, Goku's going to try and steal his technique and use it against Jiren, or at least something similar. I'm referring to the God Bind, although Goku's probably going to have to be in blue to use it. This doesn't completely paralyze Jiren, but it slows him down for long enough to leave him open. Hit did something similar before, but this time not only is Jiren a little bit trapped, he's also got a bunch of people around him, people that will knock him out. Using all of his power, Goku tries to hold Jiren, and Jiren starts to break free. To help out, Android 17 puts some barriers around Jiren, trying to trap him inside. And while that happens, Gohan and Vegeta launch a massive beam, directed at the ball that Jiren is trapped inside. And while this is happening, Trunks uses his key ability to manifest a new weapon, essentially a giant fist. Alongside Gohan and Vegeta's beams, this giant fist flies through, hitting the ball, all three attacks combined. As Jiren is launched outside the ring, the second he's over the edge, he breaks free from the ball. But just to be sure that Jiren doesn't get out of this, Goku jumps off the edge, and in Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken, he rockets down towards Jiren, kicking him in the stomach. using him as a platform to jump off of and get back into the ring. Some Super Smash Bros type stuff here. Jiren is defeated, thanks to him not using his full power, and thanks to everyone working together. And as for the MVP, it would most likely be Goku, and I'm sure he'd wish for all the universes to come back. So it's a pretty happy ending. What happens next? Well, there's the Broly movie. Or is there? Frieza's not here, so he won't jumpstart the events of the movie. Meaning, once again, Broly is stuck on his planet. Kinda sucks for him. Essentially, this means we go into the Moro arc right after this. In terms of how everyone gets recruited, it's pretty much the same. Miras comes to Earth and recruits Goku and Vegeta. And Trunks as well. Gohan would love to join, but he is a bit busy. And to be fair, they kinda do need someone strong on Earth to defend. Just in case. And although Trunks would be involved here, I'm not too sure how much the arc would change. There are two possibilities. For one, by having the extra firepower on Namek, they could defeat Moro if Trunks decides they need to finish this quickly and not draw it out. Once they notice Moro's technique, if they work quick enough and use max power, Moro could be defeated. Trunks is a very logical fighter when it comes to things like this, and he would want to finish it quick. So if he's able to pick up on something like that right away, it could just end the arc right here. The other option is that the arc goes exactly the same. Even with Trunks involved, it could still end up continuing like it normally is right now. At the time this video is being made, the story is only up to chapter 61, so we don't really know what happened, so it's not really certain what would happen in this scenario either. Trunks could probably end up back on Earth defending with everyone else, while Goku and Vegeta are off on their own training. But other than that, I feel it is possible for them to defeat Moro and Namek, just considering the way that Trunks fights. But I'll leave this up to you guys. Do you think they'd be able to do that, or would the arc continue like normal? Let me know in the comments below, and we'll end off here for now. So what did you guys think about this short scenario? What do you think about Trunks' new abilities and his developments? Leave your thoughts and suggestions in the comments below. I'll be sure to check them out to see what you guys think. As always, if you liked the video, be sure to drop a like, and if you haven't already, why not subscribe, as well as hitting the bell icon and get notified about any future videos that I upload. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you on my next video.